Hello, my name is Connor Oatman, and I'm currently an intern with Democracy on Air. I'll be your host for tonight's Aircast. Special thanks to our sponsor, Democracy on Air, a nonpartisan nonprofit that supports the U.S. on-air network of 50 governance and election hubs at us.onair.cc. This Aircast is being live streamed and recorded. After the Aircast, there will be a short video to learn more about how to find information on this Aircast. Today, we will be doing our weekly recap, beginning with Monday, February 14th. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders on Monday endorsed Jessica Cisneros' bid to unseat Texas Democratic Representative Henry Cuellar as early voting in the state begins ahead of the March 1st primary election. Quote, Jessica knows that real change comes from the bottom up, not the top down, end quote, Sanders said in a statement. Quote, she will fight for the working class in Congress, and together we will build a movement to transform this nation so that it works for all our people, end quote. Moving on to Tuesday, February 15th. In Congress, why there's been a surge of bipartisan activity. In the past few weeks, Congress has been doing something that feels surprising, weighing a number of bipartisan bills on issues including sexual harassment and stock trading. One of the reasons lawmakers have turned to bipartisan bills is that more partisan measures have been unable to pass in recent months. Previously, the Freedom to Vote Act, legislation focused on voting rights protections, failed on the floor because it was blocked by Senate Republicans. The Build Back Better Act, Democrats' sweeping social spending and climate measure, is also currently on pause as lawmakers scramble to figure out what Senator Joe Manchin will accept. On Wednesday, February 16th, how Putin's war could cost Biden with American voters. As President Joe Biden makes a final diplomatic push to stave off a Russian invasion of Ukraine, he's faced with looming political consequences at home that could have long-lasting effects on the Democratic Party's ability to maintain its power in Washington. A Russian invasion of Ukraine, which White House officials have said could occur as early as this week, would be likely to drive up gas prices amid the highest inflation in decades, wipe out significant gains in the stock market, and give Republicans a new line of attack to argue against Biden's foreign policy acumen. The White House, quote, needs to prepare the American people for what might happen in Ukraine if Putin invades and how that war impacts American national interests, end quote, said Michael McFaul, who was the U.S. ambassador to Russia during the Obama administration. For Thursday, February 17th, we have a short video about the Ottawa protests in Canada.
We're going to take you back live to Ottawa. We have these 4 live camera positions for you this morning to bring you the very latest on the protest, now day 21 of the gridlock in the nation's capital. Now, let's bring up one at a time so you can see what's happening. If we can go to this is the site which is really the logistics center, the supply depot. We're going to be telling you more about what's happening there in just a moment with our reporter, Judy Trin. I want to bring you this shot up of Wellington, that main street just in front of the Parliament building, right through the parliamentary precinct. And you see there a lot of yellow. What we're getting is an indication, police movement on the ground, suggesting a move against the protester encampments may be imminent. We know that yesterday the police were there to give pamphlets to the protesters, telling them they were to vacate now or face the penalties, the powers that they now have under the Emergencies Act now in effect. So you see a police presence there. I want to show you just a couple of pictures. I think we can show that to show you, yes, you see the barricades going up as well.
Moving on to today, Friday, February 18th, 2022. Our major stories involve a Ukrainian kindergarten being shelled, AR redistricting to be allowed, and Newsom rolling out endemic plans in California. But also featured in today's stories, classified docs were found. The National Archives has acknowledged that classified documents were found in boxes at Mar-a-Lago after Trump had left office. The National Archives acknowledged Friday it has discussed with the Department of Justice that classified records were found in boxes at Mar-a-Lago after former President Donald Trump left office, according to a letter from archivist David Ferrero to the House Oversight Committee. The letter, released by the Archives Friday, also provided more detail on reports that Trump tore up records after being warned not to while he was president. The archives arranged for the transport of about 15 boxes of records from Trump's Florida resort last month after the agency sought them from the former president's team. Joining us today is our guest speaker, Joe Kubicki, to comment about the implications of these documents being found at Trump's personal residence in Florida and what this means, especially given his desire to run again in the 2024 election.
Thank you for having me on, Connor.
Thank you for being here.
Of course. Well, I think it doesn't really mean much for Trump's actual aspirations to run again. He'll have the ability to. It's highly unlikely that any charges are brought. Really, what's most likely to happen is the documents that were wrongfully taken or wrongfully will be returned to the National Archives or wherever they belong. And any documents that were destroyed will be largely disregarded. Donald Trump will receive a sort of slap on the wrist from the media, and it will be another reason for the Democratic voters to not vote for him, and another conspiracy theory or another reason for Republicans to be against Democrats. Not much is really going to change from this. It's just confirmation of something we were already very suspicious of.
Thank you for that commentary. We'd now like to open up to our audience if they have any questions for our
Russia subject, I'd say. So like obviously like these past few days have been filled with a lot of tension with the kindergarten shelling, and now we're getting reports of explosions are going off in the eastern parts of Ukraine. So what do you think Russia or the United next moves will be in this uncertain time?
Well, I think we all can see what Russia's next moves are going to be. Russia wants to seize these lands, particularly the Donbas region in Ukraine, and it looks like they're willing to do it by force or not, and it's going to be a huge strain on the Russian economy, as they'll likely face sanctions, but also just the undergoing to investment involved in trying to take this land by force is very costly. So that's how it's going to go for Russia. As for what the UN or the US is going to do in response, the most I can really see is sanctions and anything really beyond that, and continuing to supply Ukraine with weapons and other supplies, but no troops.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you once again to our guest speaker, Joe Kubicki. That concludes our show for today. You can learn about and engage in U.S. governance and elections by going to us.onair.cc and by subscribing to the US On Air YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next week.